Happy Friday, everyone. It is Friday, September 4th, 2020, and this is going out to the residents, the loved ones, the family members of our 3 Tuscan Garden Senior Living communities in anticipation of the Labor Day weekend. It's been some time since I actually sent you a video and wanted the opportunity to touch base with you before this long weekend to give you at least an update as to what's been going on. I know that you know the governor came out with his particular order reopening senior living communities, but in the process of doing that, he left it up to the senior living communities to be able to establish the SOPs and the protocols to be able to do that safely. And of course, we consider it to be a primary responsibility to do it seriously and to maintain substantial discipline in that process. And I know that, of course, our family members are chomping at the bit to be able to come in. So the objective here is to just simply let you know where we are and what's going to be happening over the next couple weeks. First of all, please recognize the general context. The general context is we still do not have a treatment. We still do not have a vaccine. And in both of those instances, that's what we really need in order for us to be able to keep our communities safe. At the same time, on the external side, we have an additional dimension to it, and that is that schools are now back in session. And they were not in session during virtually all of the video messages that I had sent you. Why is that relevant? Because schools have kids, and kids have mothers or fathers as caregivers. And so you have the additional exposure through the associates to make sure that because their kids are in school and are in many instances being potentially exposed, that we have to be careful about that as an additional element associated with it. So across the board, we continue to maintain in our communities a substantial amount of discipline for associates and for residents to make sure that our communities are not obviously infected or worse yet, overrun. So that's sort of the context of it, particularly because we don't have a treatment or vaccine. Now, the good news is there is hope on the horizon. I know that you're reading the same types of newspapers and that I'm reading and getting the same types of reports in the news media that I have. But you know that there are any number of very late stage trials, phase 3 trials that are out there. And based on that, there is substantial optimism that we're going to have by October, November, December of this year, pretty substantial understanding as to what those treatments and vaccines are that are probably going to be coming down the pike in the first part of 2021. However, that's down the pike, that's not today, and that's not next week. So recognize that within a context. The second thing that I would comment to you on, though, and even more for optimism, is the fact that testing is very close. We're now at a point, particularly with some majors such as Abbott Labs, we are at a point where we could be very close within the next 2 to 4 weeks with some rapid testing opportunities in each one of the senior living communities. Rapid test literally means 15 minutes on site. And what a 15-minute on-site test says is that we can actually go into a phase 2 or even a phase 3 opening of our senior living communities. But again, that's not next week. That's in 3 or 4 weeks. And the general indication, based upon some recent news releases, is that Abbott expects substantial distribution of that testing equipment during the month of October, which would be, you can only imagine, a godsend from our standpoint. The reason, of course, is because we can bring visitors in, and while we're bringing the visitors in, we can immediately test them, make sure that they're safe, and then bring them in a way where we can have much more interaction between the visitors on the one side and the residents on the other side. Now, where are we until that time comes? We have no vaccine, we have no treatment, we have no testing, not on site. So as a result of that, we have to be extremely careful, and we're being extremely careful. So we are in phase 1, and that's not to suggest that phase 1 is going to be, or phase 2 is going to be the same as phase 1, but it's going to be extremely restrictive. we're going to be restricting to 2 individuals at a time for a particular resident. We're going to be talking about staggering. We'll be talking about particular segments, particular sections. They're not going to be allowed in the resident suites, for example, or down the hallways or anything of that nature. And we will have very particular protocols in terms of calling for an appointment to be able to come in during that period of time. So that's where we are with phase 1. I just want you to recognize, by the way, the good news is there is a phase 1, and that you are going to have the opportunity to be able to schedule. One final thing that I will tell you in the governor's order that is going to be relevant, and that is that if any particular community, so whether it's the AL side or the MC side that are treated separately, if anyone tests positive for a 14-day period of time, they're not going to be allowing visitors for that period. The relevance of that, as we just experienced, for example, in one of our communities where you had a server test positive, and this was some time ago, by the way, only to find out when he was retested 14 days later that it turned out to be negative. The problem is it doesn't matter because you can't go back in time and recapture that time. So we have to be somewhat careful about that, but that is now factored into the equation with respect to what the governor's order actually provides. So what's going to be happening at this point? We're going to go into phase 1. We will be establishing the protocols and the SOPs for our phase 1 reopening, and with the very particular components to that. And those are detailed. For example, this is a 2.5-page SOP on what those rules are going to be in order to do that. So we're going to send that to you in writing. So each one of our 3 communities in Venice, in Palm Coast, and in Delray Beach, which, by the way, has now finally opened up and will be receiving its license during the next few days to be able to bring residents in. So we will be sending through the executive directors messages to you that detail what these particular protocols and SOPs are. So I would just simply leave you with this. Man, it was a long summer, was it not? It's been a long time since March. And we've all been fighting the good fight for the preservation and for the safety of associates, for the safety of family members, for the safety of your loved ones. And we're not there yet, but we are definitely getting closer. We're getting closer with respect to the treatments. We're getting closer with respect to vaccines. We're beginning to see particular types of vaccines that are more effective and appear to become more effective with a senior population. And we have a number of different tests coming down the pike very soon, within the next month, that will give us the opportunity to be testing. So we've come a long way. So the only comment that I would make is we have appreciated your patience. God knows it's been very difficult for everybody. Difficult for you, I know. Difficult for us, difficult for the associates. A little bit more patience to be able to get to what we would consider to be the other side of being able to have visitors get tested so that we can open up the gates even more. But in the meantime, let's be diligent, let's be careful, let's be thoughtful, and let's make sure that we all get to the other side safely. You know I love this work, and Tuscan Gardens loves your family members, and we are honored to be able to do everything we can to keep them safe and to keep them engaged and to keep them active on a day-by-day basis. We want to continue to do that for you and for your family, and we're just about there. So expect, by the way, that letter is going to be coming in the next couple days. It'll become my email, of course, and it'll come from the executive directors, and it will identify the particular SOPs and rules for you. In the meantime, enjoy the Labor Day weekend. Our thoughts are with you, and our love. God bless you so much, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.